What does an empire do with the women who changed it? Honor them, or bury the price they paid. Welcome. Behind every surviving portrait waits a war, an exile, a grave without a name. Tonight, the faces of 20 women who shaped the Ottoman world beyond the throne return through paintings, photographs, and forgotten archives. Writers, artists, warriors, and pioneers who fought against silence. Stay until number 1, where a national legend collides with a moral question history still cannot answer. If a forgotten face moves you, carry her name with you and return for the stories still waiting. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Number 20. A woman stands beside a fragile aircraft, calm, as if the sky already belonged to her. Belkıs Şevket rose into the air in 1913, in the empire's final years, when flight was a frontier almost no Ottoman woman could touch. She survives in faded press photographs from the magazine Kadınlar Dünyası and in military archives. History remembers the first Ottoman woman to fly. The colder truth is what came after. From above, she scattered cards begging for donations to buy warplanes, a campaign that fell short. Then the record simply loses her. She once watched an empire from the clouds. The empire never recorded where she landed. Number 19. In a dim studio, a young woman's hands are still stained with paint. Müfide Kadri was among the first Ottoman women to paint professionally and to teach the art, born around 1889, in the empire's twilight. She returns through studio photographs, self-portraits, and oil paintings of quiet girls. The public remembers a pioneer stepping into a man's profession. The truth is crueler. Just as her work began to hang in exhibitions, tuberculosis was already hollowing her out. She died in her early 20s, only months after a major show. She learned to keep other faces alive on canvas. She could not keep her own youth from vanishing. Number 18. A poet sits alone in a salon where the lamps have gone cold. Nigâr Hanım, who lived from 1856 to 1918, was celebrated as an elegant voice of Ottoman letters. Mistress of literary evenings, the image of an educated woman. She survives through studio photographs, printed portraits, and private diaries. Society adored her verses about love, yet the same society denied her the right to choose her own. Married far too young, she carried an unhappy union, separation, and quiet wounds beneath every graceful line. Her final years dissolved into loneliness, illness, and war. The world listened to her poems. Few heard the woman calling for help behind them. Number 17. An old woman remembers the sound of a vanished world. Leyla says, who lived from 1850 to 1936, watched palace life from the inside and turned it into music, poetry, and memoir, bridging the empire's end and the young republic. She returns through studio photographs, family portraits, and surviving scores. She is remembered as a composer and keeper of memory. Then fire reached her family mansion and devoured her manuscripts. Of roughly 200 compositions once tied to her name, only a fraction survived. She tried to rebuild the lost melodies from memory alone. She preserved the echoes of a dead world. But not every melody outlived the flames. Number 16. A woman steps into stage light. No woman of her faith was meant to touch. Arousyak Papazian, who lived from 1841 to 1907, was one of the first professional actresses of Ottoman theater. She survives in black and white portraits and images of 19th century Armenian stagecraft. The public recalls a pioneer who broke a great wall. The colder truth waited off stage. After she married, her husband forbade her to perform, and her career was severed. She could defy a whole society under the lights, yet lost command of her own life behind a closing door. She opened the stage for other women. She herself was not allowed to remain on it. Number 15. A tragic actress bows before a theater that is not her home. Siranush, born Marop Kantar Kiyan in Constantinople, lived from 1857 to 1932 and became a legend of Armenian theater, famed for Shakespeare, remembered even for playing Hamlet. She returns through studio portraits and images in costume. Audiences crowned her a queen of the stage, but restrictions on Armenian theater fractured her path in Constantinople and drove her from her homeland. City to city, a life with no fixed place to belong. Every rising curtain reminded her the home behind it had drifted further away. Each city gave her applause. None of them gave her homeland back. Number 14. A woman rests her hand on a wooden camera as a glass negative slowly fades behind her. Naciye Suman, who lived from 1881 to 1973, is remembered as the first known Muslim Turkish woman to run her own photography studio. She survives through her portrait and rare postcards stamped with her mark. After the Balkan Wars, her family fled, losing a child on the road. When money collapsed, she sold silver to open her studio and feed them. The cruel irony came later. Most of her archive was lost, scattered under other names. She froze time for hundreds of faces. Time answered by erasing her name from her own photographs. Number 13. A woman slips out of an empire in secret, chasing a voice she was forbidden to raise. Selma Rıza, who lived from 1872 to 1931, became one of the first Turkish women journalists and the only woman in the front ranks of the Young Turk movement in Paris. She survives through studio photographs and opposition newspapers. In 1898, she fled Istanbul for a political life her homeland refused her. Yet, even among rebels, her voice was pushed behind the men beside her, including her own brother, Ahmed Rıza. She left home to find free speech. That freedom was never wide enough to hold her name beside theirs. Number 12. A reformer stands in an empty classroom, textbooks and bandages laid across the desk, beside a letter of warning. Emine Semiye Onasya, who lived from 1864 to 1944, was a teacher, writer, school inspector, volunteer nurse, and campaigner for women's rights. She survives through studio photographs, family images, and women's newspapers. She backed reform, certain a new order would open doors for women. Instead, the men who promised freedom treated women's rights as a matter to postpone. Her activism once forced her to flee toward Paris to escape arrest. She fought to change the system. Then she learned revolutionaries could keep the oldest prejudice of the system they replaced. Number 11. A girl handed into a palace grows into a woman demanding the right to choose. Nuriye Ulviye Meyvan Sivilek, who lived from 1893 to 1964, founded one of the most important Ottoman women's magazines, Kadınlar Dünyası. She survives through portraits and the pages of that very journal. Poverty pushed her into Yıldız Palace around the age of 6. She married young, was widowed young, and turned her inheritance into a printing press for women's rights. A childhood decided by others became a voice demanding self-determination for all. Power once chose her fate. She spent the rest of her life making sure it could not choose every woman's. Number 10. A teacher stands before a class of girls as the alphabet behind her dissolves into scattering pages. Zabel Sibil Asador, known as Sibil, lived from 1863 to 1934 within the Ottoman Armenian community. A poet, writer, and educator, she survives through clear studio portraits and published books. She spent years building schools and defending the Armenian language. But the cultural world she nurtured was torn apart by war, violence, and the collapse of Ottoman Armenian communities. She believed language could hold a people together, while history was tearing that people from its homeland. She taught children to hold their language. History soon forced a whole generation to hold only memory. Number 9. A woman writes beneath a manuscript where her true name hides behind 3 faceless words. Fatma Aliye Topuz, who lived from 1862 to 1936, is often called the first professional Muslim woman novelist of the empire, though some note Zafer Hanım published earlier. Her face survives on portraits, book covers, and a Turkish banknote. Her first translation appeared under the name A Woman. To be accepted, she entered literature in shadow, under the public patronage of men. Famous in her time, her work later slipped into decades of neglect. She gave voices and names to the heroines in her books. To do it, she once had to surrender her own. Number 8. A poet sits at a bare table, 2 small bowls no one will use again, resting under an oil lamp. Yasar Nezihe Bükülmez, who lived from 1882 to 1971, wrote the pioneering Turkish poem for the Workers' Day. She survives through portraits and magazine pages. The world read her verses as political fire. To her, they were first a cry from a room without food. Her mother died early. Her father, a drunk, once cast her out. 3 marriages brought no peace. 2 of her children died in want. She did not write of hunger from a distance. She wrote as hunger sat at her table and took her children. Number 7. An editor stands in a silent print room. The press stopped, an unfinished page still on the desk. Mari Beyleryan, who lived from 1877 to 1915, spoke for the education and autonomy of Armenian women through her magazine, Artemis. She survives in portraits within Armenian press archives. Exiled once for her politics, she returned to Constantinople to teach and write again. In 1915, she was arrested and never came back. She is counted among the victims of the Armenian genocide, though the details of her final days remain uncertain. She once printed the names of forgotten women. Then her own name joined the list of those who never returned. Number 6. An old woman's face has been carved into monuments across a nation. Nene Hatun, who lived from around 1857 to 1955, left her child at home to help defend Erzurum in the Russo-Ottoman War. She survives through late-life photographs, an official painting, and countless statues. But any image of her young face should be read as cautious AI estimation, not a confirmed likeness. Her story was raised into national legend, and the human being behind the symbol slipped from view. She lived through poverty, lost her husband, and later lost a son to war. A nation kept the moment she took up arms. War never returned the ones it took. Number 5. A woman in a soldier's uniform stares out from an old photograph, hardened by command. Fatma Seher Erden, remembered as Kara Fatma, lived from 1888 to 1955 and organized fighters during the Turkish War of Independence. She survives through uniform portraits, press images, and a published memoir, though many of her specific feats rest mainly on her own later accounts. Her husband died in battle. By her telling, she was even taken prisoner. After the war, she gave her pension to charity. By the 1930s, journalists found the famous commander living in poverty. Victory handed her a medal. Peace handed her an empty room and silence. Number 4. A painter stands in a radiant gallery, while beyond the window waits a cold and nameless island. Mihri Rasim, known as Mihri Mushfik Hanım, lived from around 1886 to 1954 and helped found a fine arts academy for women, becoming its first female director. She survives through self-portraits and paintings of the powerful. She painted aristocrats, intellectuals, and rulers, living an international life across Europe and America. But her final years dissolved. Records say she died poor and was buried on Hart Island, New York's field for those who could not afford a grave. She made the powerful immortal in oil. When she died, that power could not buy her a stone. Number 3. A young actress glows under stage light while shadows of police gather behind the curtain. Afife Jale, who lived from 1902 to 1941, was the pioneering Muslim Turkish woman to appear openly on the stage. She survives through sharp portraits, theater photographs, and period newspapers. After her historic performance in 1920, the theater was raided again. She fled through the wings and was finally forced out by rules, barring Muslim women from the stage. Pain led to morphine, and morphine to dependency. Her life sank into poverty, ending in an asylum. She stepped onto the stage to be seen. Then society looked away when she needed it most. Number 2. A writer bends over her desk, caught between two darknesses. An arrest list behind her, prison bars ahead. Zabel Yesayan, born in Constantinople in 1878, is the woman most often named among the Armenian intellectuals hunted in 1915. She survives through sharp studio portraits and scholarly archives in Paris. She escaped that roundup and lived in exile, then moved to Soviet Armenia, hoping to find a safe homeland. In 1937, Stalin's purges seized her again. She vanished into the prison system. Her date of death and grave remain uncertain, often placed around 1943. She escaped one empire hunting her name. Years later, another regime finished the disappearance. Number 1. And the final face is the hardest to light. A woman stands between a speaker's platform and the corridor of an orphanage. Two images that refuse to merge. Halide Edib Adivar, who lived from 1884 to 1964, became a celebrated writer and a voice of the Turkish national movement. Among the most photographed Ottoman women. During the First World War, she worked at an orphanage in Antura, where Armenian children were renamed and assimilated. She later called her role humane and oppose some coercion, yet scholars still fiercely dispute her awareness and responsibility. History can rebuild her face. It still cannot agree whether to cast it in light or in shadow. The faces have returned, but their fates still rest in shadow. Remember their names, for an empire only truly dies when its last living memory disappears.